Welcome to an episode of Inside Devils Extra with me, Angelina Kelly. I am joined today by none other than Finn Picknett, also known as Academy Scoop. Finn, thank you so much for joining me. Now, first up, we're going to get straight into it. Harry Amass, Tyler Fredricson were probably the only positives to come out of Man United's loss to Wolves. As someone who's watched them closer than others, what did you make of them?
Yeah, I was really proud of them, seeing them perform that way in an environment that's so unstable, a game that Manchester United should be winning, but given what we know about where the team is at right now, obviously that's not the reality. I think typically you expect first team established players to be the security to tidy up for young players that may be liable to make some mistakes. It felt like the complete opposite against Wolves, where Amass and Fredricson looked two of the most composed and assured players. And if you didn't know better, you'd assume that they've been playing first team football for years because, to be honest, I don't think they put a foot wrong. It's what we come to expect from especially Amass in the last couple of years, playing for the under-18s since he came through from Watford in 2023. Fredrickson's an interesting one because he played a large role in the FA Youth Cup win alongside Kobbie Mainoo and Alejandro Garnacho a couple of years ago. Since then, he's kind of struggled with injuries and hasn't pushed on the same way those other two did. But, he took his chance against Wolves and maybe now he's going to be given a continued opportunity because he certainly deserves it.
So with Emas, did his performance raise further questions over why he wasn't used a bit earlier in the season?
Yeah, I think especially after his pre-season performances under Ten Hag, which I think most people would agree were very positive, especially I think against Arsenal and Liverpool. He looked like he wasn't out of place. So it's been surprising that it's taken this long in the season for him to really get a couple games string together. And I think it's a big positive for all parties, to be honest. Maybe takes a little bit of pressure off Patrick Dorgu, who hasn't really hit the ground running yet. Obviously, Amarim has played him on the right a couple of times, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's a wing-back pairing that we see going forward. So the club and Amarim will be really happy that Amass has proved that he is ready for that, responsibility and that challenge because he stepped up to the plate brilliantly. But yeah, a little bit surprising that it's taken him this long, but the opportunities come now, so it can't look back.
Chido Obi, of course, made an appearance against Wolves. He's not in the Europa League squad. He's not available to play. They didn't select him. With the injury to Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund's poor form, do you think that this is an error that could come back to bite them?
Yeah, potentially. In hindsight, it seems a bit of a weird decision to have not included him in the Europa League squad when making the player selections, but it might be a little bit of a blessing in disguise for him in particular because, again, it takes a little bit of pressure off him. You can imagine if he was eligible to play in the Europa League, him getting thrown into games like the ones coming up, the semi-final, could be a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility that perhaps he's maybe not ready for. So from his perspective and from a development perspective, I don't think it's necessarily the end of the world. But obviously, the club are in need of a striker who can score goals and who can perform right now. And amazingly, he feels more ready to do that than Rasmus Højlund to many people. Obviously, he's yet to get his first goal for United, but for me, it feels like it's only a matter of time because it's what he does. He knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. He looks like he knows where to position himself, how to use his body, and he's good at kind of generating chances for himself. So in the Premier League, I'd like to see him get some more minutes and continue to get chances. But yeah, a bit of a disappointment that he's not eligible for the Europa League.
Now, there have been reports that United are interested in a 17-year-old River Plate player, Franco Mastantuono. He has a £38 million release clause. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, he's an extremely highly rated kind of attacking midfielder type player, kind of a number 10, likes to operate primarily off the right side, and he's a left footer. He's had interest from pretty much every European club under the sun. He's one of those players that any club that could sign him would sign him. And obviously £38 million is a lot of money to fork out for a 17-year-old. But I think he's one of the few players that you could say probably is worth that money because he's got a lot of desirable traits at the top level. Fantastic vision. He's a really, really top level playmaker. Um, really good 1v1, great dribbler. He can kind of do the lot. So that's what clubs would be seeing in him, and he's been playing first team football in Argentina since he was 16. So yeah, he definitely stands out as at his age level one of the most exciting prospects, in world football. So for United to be interested in him, I think it's quite exciting. Hopefully, there's legs to those reports. It feels to me similar to the Lenny Yoro deal last summer. And to me, it's clear that Ineos are willing to pay big sums for players that are considered to have, really top end potential, like we saw with Lenny Yoro last summer. Obviously, was really closely linked to Real Madrid. It seemed unlikely that United would be able to get a deal done, but we swooped in. We were proactive, and I think Yoro was probably happy with his game time and with the project that's being projected. And I think maybe Ineos will use that same blueprint if they are to go for someone like Mastantuono, because I think there are a lot of similarities in that potential deal. So it's an interesting one to keep an eye on for sure.
So, like you say, he can play in that number 10 role. So, I guess if there are departures such as Marcus Rashford, Alejandro Garnacho, if United are lucky to get a player like Matheus Cunha, then he could potentially get game time because your number 10s are maybe Amad Diallo, depending where he's going to play, Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, Cunha if they got him. So, he could get chances.
Yeah, I think especially if you consider that Ahmad seems to be viewed long term as a right wing back, when maybe previously we expected him to be as more of a number 10. And the options there, given the injuries and given who's departed on loan and who, like you said, could be sold in the summer, suddenly there's quite a clear pathway there for a right-sided number 10 to slot in and really get some chances. Bruno Fernandes can play there, but it seems like Amorim likes him to play a little bit deeper in that midfield too. And so, yeah, I think obviously it's tough to say that a 17, or he will be 18 if he was to sign, um, that an 18-year-old would be able to come in and just hit the ground running and play for a club like Manchester United. But again, he shows the character and the ability and the maturity in his performances since he's been in first team football for 2 years already. That he could be one of those type of players that could do it and could be ready for that opportunity. So he's one that, it's the DNA of the club to bring in these young, exciting players, nurture them into a star. So that's definitely the plan that United want to execute, and it seems like there might be something in that one. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one.
And finally, Ruben Amorim has said he may have to play more youngsters in the Premier League in order to prioritise the Europa League. Who do you think has a realistic chance of getting an appearance between now and the end of the season? Who should people be looking out for?
I'd say there's two names that stick out to me alongside the ones that we've already seen in the first team. The first one would be Jack Morehouse. He's a kind of an attacking midfielder. I think he'd slot in really nicely in that left number 10 position. He's very athletic, really, really powerful runner, and he can carry the ball brilliantly, which is something that United maybe don't have in the first team at the moment. He's been playing fantastically for United's under-21s this season, very highly rated internally, and we've seen him on the bench a few times. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if he was to be given a debut before the end of the season, and he's a player I really enjoy watching for the under-21s. And I'd also say Bendito Mantato. He's a really versatile player. He plays primarily at right wing for United's under-18s and under-21s, although a lot of people have drawn similarities to someone like Quenda, and the qualities that he has that allows him to be an effective wing back. That the engine that he's got and the kind of athletic qualities. And he can take it two ways. He can take it on the outside or the inside. He's quite two-footed and offers a lot of kind of attacking quality in the final third. And interestingly, he's played for England's youth age groups at left back. So he's got that kind of defensive ability to him as well. So he's another one that the club really, really really rate highly. And yeah, I think he could be in line for a debut, even though we haven't seen him in the squad just yet. But yeah, Morehouse and Mantata, two players that I think, could be given a chance.
Finn, thank you so much for joining me. And don't forget, the latest episode of Inside Devils will be dropping on talkSPORT's YouTube channel. Do not forget to like and subscribe.